I know how to push buttons. It's
Oh,
fine.
I don't know how.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome to Embracing the Wild. I have words somewhere in this mouth.
Some days more than others.
Some days. It's been a long time. I can't remember the last time we recorded. I feel like we took like a month or two hiatus.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute and there's been so much going on. Like,
That's
yeah.
why we took a break. we could we could not begin to learn how to function in any way, shape, or form. And it's just been overloaded, overwhelming, a lot of back and forth. All like, what is it? When people are going through unexpected change, even though it like happens at a very extremely fast pace, but I always like kind of one of my natural responses to people is like, oh my gosh, look at this opportunity to grow and expand. And like, even though it's like sometimes when you're going through the muck of it, you don't necessarily feel, yay, growth expansion. You're like, ugh. And it's that purging and the layer debuckling and all the things that go with it. And then once you kind of start getting through the other side, you're kind of like, okay, this totally needed to happen. Like there's a weight or a clearance that ensues with it, which is beautiful, but it's like you can't wrap your brain around it necessarily while you're going through the midst of the
Yeah, and I think for me it's like especially when I'm in the midst of other people going through that with all the extremes and their life is changing significantly, but I feel like the world's leaving me behind.
yes.
Where's my change?
Yeah.
Where's my growth? Where's my highlight? Where do I get that? You know?
Yeah, but it's in my turn. Why
I'm
didn't
like,
I?
this
Why
is
aren't
my
I being
turn.
included?
But I'm, riding the boat with everybody else's chaos. I mean, and then I'm like, but
So like, do you remember? So one of Leo's favorite movies is Burlesque. And
mm,
in that movie, like Allie comes all the way to LA and then she's trying to fit in with the girls. And then it finally came out that she like is a singer and like she's becoming a part of the performer group. But then like, it's like they ask her, like a bunch of girls are planning to go out for pizza and she's like, okay. And then she's grabbing her bags and everybody ended up leaving. And then, like, right when she's about to turn around to go, like, everyone's gone. And so then she just drops her stuff and then she's like, but, wah, 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 wah. But then what ends up happening is, like, she gets one of the best makeup lessons that she's never had from, like, Cher of all people. So, that
yeah,
clearly works. I mean, she's got the gay following. So, that makeup's good.
yeah. And it's like I know stuff will come around, and I know that like I have done so much laying the foundation that things will come around quickly. It's just, it's like that. It's like getting to the airport and then still having an hour to wait to get on your flight.
I wish, I hate.
Oh my gosh. I'm
you,
like, I
you
would
know,
rather the panic of like running through to get there as like one of the
yes.
last two people to get on. I would
Bump me to the
rather
next flight if you have to, but like I'm gonna sprint to the fucking gate. Yeah, I would rather
that.
be the last person on the plane than have to sit through watching all these people go through a freaking line. Like I mean, and it's nuts. And it's like it's for me, it's about like the luxury feeling of traveling. So it's like I don't want to have to carry excess baggage. If you're the last on the flight, you get a chance of having them put your carry-on underneath and then you're hands free like the whole time. And then it's like and then I'm also like, okay, you know what? I don't really care necessarily where I have to sit. Because like it doesn't really, I don't have really big preferences. I'm like 5 foot, so it's a, you know, like I climb over people if I have to go to the bathroom. You've actually seen me do that a couple of times,
This
but
maybe you
like
climbed over. No.
yeah, I just did. Like people are like, "Oh," and I'm like, "No, no, no, stay there. It's easier." Like let me just hop over. And they're like, "What the hell just happened? Who is this chick?" And like, it doesn't help that I'm 40. You'd think I'd like lose some of that. It doesn't happen. I'm like
It
a
doesn't
random
happen.
40 or like I'm a rabbit in the plane. But it's when you don't have some of those like I want to say like constraints of like controlling every single intricate detail of travel or intricate detail of how things are expected to turn out. When you are able to get to a place of surrendering and allowing like the experience to be the experience and be delightfully surprised by the twists and turns regardless of if they're up and down, you know, like there is this freeness to it, but then you very much get opened up into this realization of what you do and do not want and how you prefer to even just travel, like going through security, going through all of these different things. I know that you and I, you know, we kind of gear up like soldiers when we go through security for a good friend because we're like, hell freaking no. It's like strip search the crazy one that hops over people in planes. Don't strip search the diabetic. Like it's not okay.
That's not okay.
Yeah, like
Just
I'll
because
go
she
as
has a tongue.
crazy as possible, and then it's better
Yeah.
because then Alicia can explain who I am. People then her have to be like, "It's a pump. Calm down. Like, don't worry about it."
Yeah. It just delivers insulin. It's not going to blow anybody up. Um, it's like I say that, and it's like the more that I sit here and think into it, I'm like, okay, I really like the knowing what time it starts boarding and knowing that I have plenty of time to get there, and that once I get there, that it's an easy walk through to the other side, and then I can
Yeah,
pee and get my beverage, and then they're loading.
yeah.
I don't like the anxiety of like rush, 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 push you through security, rush, 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 and then the wait for an hour to even start,
You mean you don't like being a
building.
military man?
I was raised by one of those, so no.
Yeah, right. Well, and
5 minutes early is on
right.
time. I'm like,
Well,
no, no,
I
it's
didn't
fine.
even
It's
realize that
early.
that was like part of the custom of like the military experience. It was like rush, 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 and then sit and wait and do nothing. And like Rudy can sit in an airport and just sleep anywhere. It's like as soon as he finally gets to where he knows his surroundings, then he can finally just fall asleep in a corner and be completely fine. Which then I have deliberately not woken him up when they started boarding planes until the closer to the last call. Because I don't want to get in line early if he wakes up beforehand. So I've trained the kids to tiptoe around him and be quiet. Like, do not wait, dad, until that last call. It's like, okay, when the last group gets called, okay, we might like wait about 5 minutes and then we're like, oh, honey, they're calling us now. It's okay.
Time to go.
Time to go. But then I got time to sit down and drink my tea and like maybe even have some left over to be able to drink before like as we're taking off and like all those things. But we're talking a lot about travel today.
I know.
And we
It's on
must
my
be preparing to go somewhere now. Are we? I maybe the universe is trying to
I'm
tell us to get
telling
our shit
I
together.
I actually don't have anything on my calendar until the end of September. So I have several months, and
Wow.
that's after, going down to the beach and then back up and then out to my mom's and back here and then up to Arkansas and back all within like 12 days.
A month. Yeah, it wasn't even a month.
It wasn't even a month. It wasn't even 2
Yeah.
weeks. I mean, it was kind of like go, come home, 4 days of work, leave, come back, leave the next day after coming back. It was insane. And yesterday I
We both
was,
have been a ring around the rosy for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's been crazy. And just, yesterday was one of those days for me that I really needed a down day, but I had been so amped up for so long that I was just like, I can't, and I was trying to edit
I
some
couldn't
other
think.
video and that wasn't happening. And every time I touched the screen, it was like, I even have a list from Chat GPT that says, go here, click this. It'll pop up a menu that says this, and then you click that. I mean, it was very, very specific. Mine, you click that, nothing happens. You right click that, and it pops up a menu, but on that menu is not what it says is on the menu. And so, like, everything was just not happening. And, by the time I got, just 20, not even 20 minutes into, maybe 5 minutes into it, I was ready to take the computer and throw it across the room. And
I
I
have
was
I have a
like,
lot of days like that.
I just can't. Okay, so this is not bucket list. This is fuck it list.
Like people don't realize like I sent you girls a text yesterday and like
I was
it
pretty
just really
crappy.
made me happy. It actually kind of reminded me of you and me if we were men wizards standing in a forest and like and honestly I don't know how you can read that, but they're like cute little elf forests. And then it says, I'm not making any progress with my bucket list. And the other one says, change the B to an F and you'll feel better about that.
Yeah,
And so,
that's where
yeah.
that comes from. That's the
Yes.
bucket list.
Yeah.
But I, too, it's like, going back yesterday afternoon after I like literally I did some retail therapy and I was gonna get my toes done and that didn't happen, but I ate tacos and I was just like, "Wah!" And when I finally got home, I was like, okay, let's revisit my human design and be like, why am I frustrated and angry? And I was like, oh, because I'm an emotional authority manifesting generator. So when
Yep.
something is not in alignment with me, I'm frustrated. And because I'm emotional authority, I'm frustrated and I'm angry about it. I don't want to wait. I want to do it now, 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 now. And I can't do it now. So I'm just angry about it. And I'm frustrated because it's not working.
Ah! Like release
So,
the dragons.
yes.
Ah.
And I'm usually like the one that's all like peace and calm and chill and happy and
And then
usually.
occasional a little burp of fire.
Yeah. So
It's like
anyway,
it's yeah, you're you're the cheery happy dragon that's like like
yeah, usually, and then every so often I'm like, and there's fire.
it doesn't happen very often, but I
No.
also do definitely know not to infiltrate your brain when you are in those moments because it might be scary. Like
Oh yeah, you don't want to know. You really don't
yeah,
want to know.
I
It,
don't do that. I don't seem to do that a
you,
lot, and
you don't go dark side.
I don't go dark side. Like, I mean, I have moments where, when there's a window where I could see how someone can manipulate a situation, I go, ooh, that would be a really good opportunity, but I'm not that type of person. And then like and then I veer off from it. But like it was this comment that my sister had said like years ago to me. And we're talking like, I mean, we haven't spoken. If Kai's gonna be 9, that's 8.5 years. We haven't really spoken in 8.5 years. And I'm not the type of person to hold grudges and be, that I want to pure through. I get through, I process really quick. I'm ready to go. But it was really interesting because she had said something and it was in the regards to, I wish I could be like you or just say anything that's on your mind, like everything that comes to mind. And I kind of was like, wait, what? That's not normal? I was like, what are you talking about? And then I was like, well, why can't you? And then she's like, excuse me, like, like this is my job. This is this, this is this, this is this. I'm like, well, why can't? And then all of a sudden I went, oh, like you have some some judgmental, like personal, like angst and thoughts and judgments and all the things. And I was like, oh yeah, I don't have that problem. Now I
Yeah.
will, like I do share my opinions in how I prefer things, but I don't project them onto other that they have to. But I there was this one moment that we went to, this is just a month ago, and it would have been, I immediately made note, like I had to share this on the podcast. I completely forgot about it until just now. And it's so funny because so Kai and I went into the dollar stores and we were just getting like some snacks for a movie and like some random little tidbits of like decor or whatever. And so we went into the dollar store. We're looking through to grab what we need. We go and we check out in line. And as we're checking out in line, there's this little kid. And I'm pretty sure the kid's name is Oliver because we couldn't like not forget it after this mother that came in like to the picture. But like, here's this little kid. He's probably maybe 3, I would say somewhere between like 2.5 and 3.5. Okay. So he's like, he's aware of his surroundings. He can go and grab and do all the things. Like there, I have I don't want to say strict rules, but like when I go into a store, I will deliberately avoid a certain path of the grocery store so it doesn't entice the child and then make them a fucking psycho. Like, because that's not fair to them. They can't control themselves. They're at a certain age. So like I will just do, oh, look, and then I'll do a lot of like avoidance or distraction techniques in a grocery store, but also making sure that my children follow like grocery store etiquette and they're not fucking lunatics going all over the place. And then, I'm not the mom that has children that are like, ah, and then you're like, oh my God, like keep that family away from me. But like, I don't really like if my kids are upset, I stop the cart, I have conversation with them, I communicate to see what it is that they're needing, what they're missing. Like I've always been very attuned to, okay, hold on, let's create space so that you don't have a meltdown. And so I've been very fortunate that my kids have not like had a meltdown. I can think of maybe 2 distinct times where I've had to pick Kai up and hold him over my shoulders and just walk out of the store. But like it was like 2 times, never has done it again. And nothing even transpired after that. We literally went and sat in the grass and he chilled out in 2 seconds. Like it was not even a big fucking deal. He's just overstimulated and he wasn't being heard. And so he needed space to be heard. Once he calmed down, we were able to go back in the store. Well, at any rate, this dollar store lady, like her son is clearly like, 2.5, 3.5 years old. So of course, he's on the ground. He's not in the cart. So then he's like we're in line and he starts seeing all this stuff. Well, apparently this kid is into bags. So he decides to go grab all these bags and he grabs like 10 of them and just starts walking around and he's got his pacifier in and then he's walking over to his mom because he's so proud of himself that he just got like 10 bags. And the mom's sitting there in the store and she's trying to call him. And she's trying to entice him with the cookies that he picked out. Which, number one, my son immediately was like, are those her cookies or his cookies? Because he didn't really seem that interested in the cookies. Like, number 2, you're sitting there and you're watching poor Oliver and he's so into these bags and the mom ends up just like, Oliver, do you want your cookies? Which clearly Oliver's into his bags right now. So he doesn't give a shit about the damn cookies. So she opens up the tin. She's like, I'm going to eat your cookies. And then she grabbed like a stack of like 3 of them and she goes, rah, 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 and like in front of his face like a fucking asshole. Like, it was just a very bizarre thing. My favorite part was that Oliver gave 2 shits, like did not give a rat's patootie. He was just like, I'm into my bags, lady, eat all the fucking cookies you want to. And then she's sitting there in the back being all like, whatever. And all of a sudden I'm watching this in my mind. I go, yikes, that is a lot of parenting skills that needs unraveling. And like skills saying it lightly. But then it was next thing you know, I was like, okay, we're not going to judge that person. We don't know what kind of day they had. Like, we didn't know, like, had Oliver lost his, like, has he been driving or not? We don't know. We don't know anything about her, their situation, anything. Next thing you know, I look over to my son. He goes, wow, that was rude. And I go, what? And he goes, that was a mean mom. Like, that was just rude. Poor Oliver. And I just sat there and I'm like, now we don't judge. And he's like, and I go, but I was thinking the same thing. Good job, kid. But at the same time, I was sitting there and I'm like, oh my gosh, there were so many different dynamics of stuff. But like, it's opportunities like that where here my son being close to the age of 9, like, okay, when you witness situations like that, that is a parenting opportunity to have crucial conversations with your children about like what you're witnessing, being able to say, you know what, we don't know Oliver's mom. We don't know if she's had a long day. We don't know if she's been the only, like, she could be the only person watching Oliver. And she's like, you know, she's hit her maximum. I mean, it's almost 3, 4 o'clock. It's getting close to bedtime. That's usually when parents are getting pretty wiped, you know, like, and then it's just like on top of it, you know, like, you know, clearly like Oliver's got a pacifier in his mouth. So clearly like he's, you know, there's some self-soothing mechanisms that are being portrayed, but at the same time, like sometimes like you could clearly tell that Oliver wasn't being responsive and she wasn't reaching him at his level. So it was like we don't know their dynamic, their relationship, how that goes in if there's other people that are factors, you know, like there's so many different things. But it was like as we walked out and he's like, yeah, but after I did all the whole parenting spiel of non-judgment, he's like, yeah, but like seriously, that was really rude. Like, yeah, I do agree with you. Like I would not have handled it that way, but at the same time, not everyone has the coping skills, adults and children, to manage those types of things. Like our experiences build those coping skills. So, you know, if we choose to evaluate and reflect over them. But it was really funny because I was like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and that's when I would just be like, okay, so yeah, remember what that looks like and don't do it.
Right.
When the time comes, don't do that. Yeah, that's just not nice.
Yeah. It just well, and it was
Yeah.
weird because it was watching it come from the parent, not the child, and you were just like, "Wow." Like,
Yeah.
and then of course then we get home and then Kai starts to tell his sister what happened and then she responds, "Was she a ginger?" And I said, "Ironically, she was."
Yeah. Right.
And
You're
she's
like,
like, yeah, they're a little fiery. Like, of course, their parenting would be that way, like, or something. My daughter's got issues with gingers, so like,
yeah.
I don't
You know
really
what?
understand it.
When I was her age, I did too because every girl that I got dumped for was a ginger. Every single
Oh,
one. Every single one that I got dumped for was a redhead.
really?
Every
Why?
single one. I don't know. I didn't get dumped for blondes. That's good. But redheads, I mean, I guess I wasn't quite crazy enough. I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah, I do. They are a little bit more fire pistol Pete type,
Yeah,
type of appetite, but
yeah, I don't know. I wasn't enough wild side for those guys, I guess. But
well, speaking of wild side, let's dive into some so in
lab.
yeah, in so like just for audience like listenershipness, if
Hmm.
that's a thing. Like let's make listenershipness a thing. Well, basically it was interesting because we've been going through a lot of major obstacles. I personally have disclosed, you know, some of my husband's PTSD trail, some of the home constraints that we've been doing, like job changes, things of that nature, to help monitor and like keep his mental health and sanity where it needs to be. But at the same time, not necessarily realizing how much of a toll it's taken on my physical body. And because of being in a state of caretaking, really putting on like the warrior suit to fight for, you know, the treatment and care that my husband deserves, on top of like ensuring that the government is actually, you know, paying attention to their veterans, which was a fucking, for, I cannot tell you, I feel like the rare 1 to 5% that was able to get their way. And that is a very, very, very times 50 varies rare thing for a lot of our veterans, especially when it comes to disabilities and tracking and getting the number where it's supposed to be. And honestly, if it wasn't for the strength and courage of my husband being able to open up as well as he did, especially during his evaluation, and being willing to basically deal with me pushing him like a lot. Like, and, you know, but at the same time, holding space for himself to be able to come to certain realizations of like, you know, there's a lot of distrust. There was a lot of distrust in the in the service and the brother in, and if he would be taken care of the way, and also lack of believing that he was needed. um really going through and realizing where your disability rating is. And I hate the term disability rating for them because it makes them feel like, they're like, nothing's wrong with me, I'm walking, I'm fine. Like there's, like I didn't
I'm
get blown up by a,
not bleeding.
right. I'm not bleeding. I'm not missing an arm. I've had like, I've been around that. I was fortunate. I was able to walk away. Like, therefore, I'm fine, which is not true. And so, but going through that journey with him, and then we got, I mean, amazing, like, results. Like, ironically, our claims filing is still on step 3 out of 8. However, because one of the 8 issues came through, he's now officially at 100%, which is transformational. But holy shit, I thought once we hit that, it would be like, oh my gosh, okay, the energy comes back, the focus comes back. And it's like, oh, I instead went into almost like a 3-week, like, sleeping catch up, slowing down, being able, like, this was the first day today that I woke up and I actually kind of felt like I was having flashbacks of how things were towards like 20 years ago, 15 years ago, when I would just wake up, deal with the kids' stuff, organize, have time to think a little bit and figure out what I wanted to do for the day, where I haven't felt like that in a really long time. But it's taken a major toll on my health. So once we found out that, hey, now that we're through that, now that we get to start the healing process, because let's face it, going through the fight does not start the healing. It's like, you get a little bit of healing tidbits here and there on the way, but it really doesn't allow you the space to really to grow and really reflect and really process everything that has happened. And like, Rudy found this TikTok that was incredible, that was a guy basically saying, like, you get through the storm, and he's like, but when you had to fight to get through the storm's still there, but now at least you have a shelter, and you have a shelter to at least give you the space to be able to deal and weather the storm. And it was just this really beautiful TikTok of this guy just like talking to his brother, and to kind of give them that, hey, once now that you've gotten here, now we really get to focus on what our next steps are. So we decided, you and I, not me and Rudy, decided that, like, why don't we reset with our blood work, get our supplementation back in, and then of course, right when my results came in and you were reviewing it and then comparing it to my DNA, you're like, hey, should we like do this live? And I'm like, yes, we should, because why not?
Why not? Right. So this is more what I do on a regular basis for a living instead of just listen to Abby talk. Not that we don't love to listen to Abby talk, but hey.
I
All
speak in
right.
spirals. I feel bad for everybody. I saw we, but I'm not.
Like, whew. All right. So
Ah.
I am gonna. I think. I don't even know if it's been sharing all along. Hmm.
No, it has not. Actually, I have to add it to stage, and
Okay. There
then
you
I'm going to
go.
put us in opposites so people can actually see these reactions.
Okay. Um. So can you zoom in, or maybe it's me that has to zoom in?
You might have to zoom in. If not, I can try and put it into a full
Look
screen
at
layout.
that.
Yep.
All
Yeah.
right. So this is not violating HIPAA. You heard her. She
I
said she was willing to
verbally
put it out here.
confirmed that everyone gets to look at my shit. Not literal
Okay.
shit, but like you get what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
So
And
this is
poo-poos might come up during the conversation.
yeah. So so this is a LabCorp printout from Regular Labs. And as I scroll down on it, you will basically see that Abby is fine. Everything for the most part looks like it's in range. There's one number right here called alkaline phosphatase that we're going to come back to.
Always sucks balls with me.
Yep, we're going to talk
Yeah.
about why here in just a minute. And then we keep going. Your blood sugar looks
What
amazing.
was
There's
my
your
blood sugar
vitamin
at?
D. It's at the top. We'll get there in a second.
Okay.
Um, but as you see, like everything here shows normal except for that one marker. Like literally. everything looks, this is where your doctor goes, oh, you're fine. Have a nice day. Okay.
Right.
So I'm
Which
going to
is
stop
like kind
sharing
of the
that.
asshole. Oh, hold on.
Wait.
Did you stop sharing?
Nope. I did. And I'm going to share a different one
Okay.
now.
Okay, cool. I'm putting it up so people can see more clearly. I changed the viewpoints.
Okay. Share screen. And it's going to be dun dun dun.
Beep, beep, beep,
Nope,
beep.
that's that one.
We
I
can
have
do
too many
music.
screens open.
We can do music while
Ha,
we wait.
it's this one. And share. Dun dun dun. Okay, it's ready for you. All
There
right.
we go.
And so
Ah,
this,
my real name. Hide it.
okay, look, oh, let's zoom in on it first,
Son
Kristen.
of a bitch. We will tell the name
you can
story later.
you
Different
can
day.
edit that later if you want.
I don't
But
care. It's fine. We're
when
good.
I do a functional report, I look at not only the standard range, which is in the red. You don't have any high, well, it says one previous high alarm, but you don't have any of the pink high alarms. Um, and then you've got standard ranges, but then we also have these optimal ranges. And optimal ranges are where we can make a difference between what's optimal and what's your doctor's looking at, that we can do lifestyle changes and add supplements and things that can make a difference before you're sick enough for them to even pay attention to it. So we're going to scroll down through this. Oops, I got to get on the right screen so I can scroll. And you will see her previous results as well as her current results. So there's going to be some thumbs up and some thumbs down. So those red thumbs down is where that stress impacts you, like you were talking about, like, oh, hey, that was better before, or it's about the same. So, this first set of markers, your blood sugar was 86, your A1C is 5.1, which are both fantastic. Those are actually even on the lower side. So, it doesn't surprise me, you being a healthcare or a health professional, a fitness professional, that your blood sugar would be amazing because I know that you eat.
However, you do have to understand, but like for over the last couple years, even doing what I do for a living, like, okay, my cheats and my indulgences are not that bad. Just for listeners understanding. Like my cheats are I love fucking potatoes, they hate me back. Like I have an issue with nightshade foods. Corn is not necessarily good, but like that would be a cheat. I have had a very, very long relationship with Prosecco during a lot of my husband's stuff, which is probably is one of the reasons why I was the most concerned about my blood work and where I was at, because I really don't want to kill my liver. I actually love my liver. But like at the same time, it wasn't even avoidance. It was like it was like the time that I would drink would be time of calm, because it was finally like, oh my God, thank God things finally calm down and I can relax for a minute. But at the same time, my body was not like that. That never ever makes the body relax. It keeps you in a stress response. And so it's one of those things where I was like, okay, I need to get my shit in control, because this is not who I am. I've been the fitness person. I usually am healthy. I was going through repetitious behavior of like I could go months, if not like I'd probably be weeks without working out. Then I'd still be active during the day to like handle house care, but I was not like actually like I didn't feel like I had worked out in years, like probably even like since Kai was born, and Kai's going to be 9 in August. Like I would basically do maintenance things periodically, maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and then I do nothing for 3 weeks, and then I might get one in, and then nothing for 2 3 weeks. But because thankfully my foundation was really good, it didn't destroy, or it doesn't seem to be destroying, but at the same time it's also like not my preferred optimal health. And like when I look at health and when I deal with clients, I'm always focusing on what do they actually want to be, like what is important to them, what kind of activities, like what kind of grandparent, what kind of future do they want for themselves. And I definitely was like starting to head down a train of like I wasn't taking as much self-care. I was basically taking care of my mind and in the minimal parts of my body, but I wasn't advancing in physical. I've been in a state in a stagnation. And so Audra's like, let's poke you and like re-examine. My
Let's look again.
precious.
Yeah. All right. So if you guys, most of you have had a comprehensive metabolic or a CBC run, you could totally go pull those up and look at the optimal ranges here and kind of the green. I don't know if you can see this on your screen.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right there.
Yeah. It's
So
super
these
good.
are the optimal ranges here. Sometimes this gets really big. There it went. Whoa. Okay. So the optimal ranges, and you can kind of see what I'm talking about a little bit more. So BUN has to do with your blood urea nitrogen. This is how well your kidneys are clearing urea. And creatinine is what's released when your muscles contract. Not to be confused with creatine that people use to build muscles, but creatinine, which is on your blood work, is what your muscles release when they contract. So if you're really small framed with really fine muscles, this may be on the lower side. Or if you have a really sedentary lifestyle, it's going to be on the lower side because Abby is always active and she's actually pretty muscular for a small person. Her numbers are really in that optimal range and even, up from what they were way back in 2018 when we looked. So that's fantastic.
But that has
You're
to do with my job making me do shit.
exactly,
My
exactly.
job makes me stay active. So, and
Yes,
my children are young, so I am forced to stay active even when I don't want to. And
you
that's
don't
what I've
want
been
to.
struggling with is my energy. I've been in the I don't want to, and oh God, is it wine time yet? Because
Yeah,
I'm
I don't
done.
want to. Yeah.
I don't want
I
to.
would say, but the ratio between those two also gives us indications of kidney health, and yours is fantastic as far as that goes. This number here that is EGFR, that's actually the glomerular, meaning kidney, filtration rate, and that's actually dropped a little bit. Sometimes when we are stressed, our vessels tend to contract and we don't get as much blood flow to places like our kidneys, and that can deplete that vascular function towards the kidneys. So sometimes just supporting blood flow and reducing stress will actually increase this number.
Which that actually makes a lot of sense for Rudy because that would explain why when he would go through a like episode or have a stress response, he almost set himself up for a gout flare because the kidneys couldn't filtrate through his uric acid and then it started to collect in his joints, etc. And then like led to a big old blow up. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. The other thing that can affect EGFR is making sure that you're drinking plenty of water, which I know you do on a regular basis. But at the same time, it's like, especially when it's hot outside and you're sweating more, balance electrolytes, making sure that you're
Right.
getting plenty of water is important for that filtration. So the next numbers here are your electrolytes. You'll see this thing called anion gap down here. And anion gap is basically a number crunching formula of all of your electrolytes. So sodium, potassium, chloride, CO2, I think calcium's in there as well. So when any of those numbers are off, which happens when we have adrenal stress, it's going to change that anion gap number. So that's the number that's off the most here. It's out of that, you know, normal range, as we say. It wasn't even on your regular set of labs because they don't
Mhm.
do the calculation unless you specifically ask for it. So it wasn't even on there, but that's why it's on here is because we're looking at your sodium. So sodium can be, yeah, you're eating too much salt on your food, but with you, I know that's not true. What else can affect sodium is stress. So it's like if your adrenals are overactive or underactive or whatever it is, it's going to affect that sodium number. Right now, you're in optimal, but you're right at the top of optimal, meaning that yes, you've had some definite changes because of stress. Okay. Potassium's good, chloride's good. Chloride, I will see off. It'll be either too low for people that don't make enough stomach acid or too high for people that are really acidic. So
Oh, that
just
makes me feel a lot better because I've been feeling like my stomach. I've been concerned about my gut health predominantly, and I know you're going to go into the whys on that because you know my back stuff. But like
yeah,
one of the things that like being through immense stress has actually caused me. Like I've always been a regular person, and then all of a sudden it was like my appetite was changing. I even would feel like very acidic certain days. Like certain days I'd feel very acidic and then other days I would feel like fine. But I would keep going through this roller coaster, and then like, girl, the IBS like with stress levels is freaking like no joke, and it's so sad because it was like I couldn't even remember the last time that I shit right. Like it was so bad. And
We'll
it's
get
like
there. We're
right,
getting
like
close.
it's
We're getting
TMI,
there.
but it's like, but
Yeah.
I mean, like that makes me feel better that my chloride levels, because one of my concerns was abnormal, you know, was abnormal stomach acid. Like I was concerned that I was creating something like worse.
Yeah. And I mean, these are blood numbers, so it's not directly what's in your stomach, but at the same time, the correlation is there. And
Hmm.
it's exactly where it was the last time we checked.
Sweet.
CO2, on
Score.
the other hand, has dropped 7 points.
Eh.
Ah! So here's what I've noticed is that since COVID, which at this point is 5 years ago, but when that period of time came around, everyone's CO2 dropped because we all stopped breathing. I mean, and not that people's weren't low before that, but we all started breathing really shallow. Like it's not okay to breathe in the space of other people.
Yeah,
And so
like a
when you're only
panic.
breathing to about right here and it's super, super shallow, you're not getting enough oxygen in to hold on to it long enough to create CO2 in your bloodstream to exhale. I mean, you're
Yeah.
just going oxygen in, oxygen out, oxygen in, oxygen out, and you're barely getting enough in there. So CO2 has become one of those markers. I think it's the book called Breath or Breathe by James Nestor. I think it's
Okay.
Breath. And he talks about how increased CO2 levels are actually a really good marker for long term health and longevity because having those numbers, like you said, more in that optimal range of like 25 to 30 versus somewhere between 19 and 30, that upper end of it is actually better for us because we're getting more exchange of oxygen that's creating that CO2 for us to exhale, that you will have better endurance, better recovery with a little bit higher CO2.
Okay.
Okay. How do you do that?
I
Well,
don't know.
breathe, breathe. I was like, it's really kind of funny because it's like, I don't know how many times I tell people on a regular basis, drink more water, breathe.
You know, I've actually sent people to you, and their number one shock was that it was that they weren't drinking enough water and they weren't breathing enough. And then like a lot of their other stuff was okay. And you're like, yeah, you're just not breathing enough. And then it was amazing because then after that I would watch them go through a 6 month where they would just be like, oh, hold on a second, I haven't been breathing. And then they start having the radar that they hadn't been. I usually breathe a lot and go through, meditative things, but obviously I've been only doing them as like a last resort of my body's clearly not feeling right. Oh wait, I need to go do that. But it was like it's almost like I've been doing that as a last resort instead of a habit pattern of it like daily breathing affair.
Yeah.
Not that
And,
breathing should be an affair, but you get what I'm saying.
totally. And mine's the same way. It's like mine will drop low occasionally too. And so much of it is, it's like, I don't want to breathe on people. I'm in close contact with people all the time and I don't want to breathe on them. But at the same time, it's like I do have to remind myself, okay, stop, slow down, breathe. I
Right.
have patients that I've said, okay, set a meditation bell on your watch or your phone or whatever it is that reminds you to take 4 slow, deep breaths every hour or every 30 minutes or whatever it is that if it's in your schedule, particularly for people that are really low. So, most people go, well, I don't have time to do a whole breathing practice or a whole meditation practice. And I'm like, 4 breaths where you breathe in for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, breathe out for a count of 4, and hold for a count of 4 will take you 1 minute. 4 of them. By the time you've done 4, you've reset your autonomic nervous system to where you're now nice and calm.
You can breathe while you poop.
I was going to say, you can breathe while
Not
you
saying
poop.
you want to
You
breathe
can
in while
breathe while you
you're pooping,
drive.
but I'm just
I
saying.
was going to say, not that anybody really wants to breathe while they poop, but you can breathe while you
You
poop. You
could.
can breathe while you drive. You
Or
can breathe while
stoplight.
you're cooking. You can
Stoplight
breathe.
would probably be better.
Yeah. I, whatever works, right? But really, it is just breathe in for a count of 4, hold for a count of 4, breathe out for a count of
Nice.
4. and it immediately puts you in that calmer space. All
Nice.
right. So uric acid, again, you're familiar with uric acid because you were just talking about Rudy having gout. When uric acid is up, you're more likely to have gout issues. Uric acid usually sneaks up when that kidney function is a little bit on the lower side, and I'm going to say drink more water.
Mhm.
Um, and there's a lot of people out there that will argue with me on sometimes the carbonated water, even though you're getting hydration from it, you're not getting the same hydration as you would from just plain water. So,
And
sure,
I'm a
enjoy your
big carbonated water person. Like I'm a carbonated water junkie, but surprisingly the last 2, 3 weeks I've actually been doing like half and half. So I was like, "Ooh, interesting." But I've also noticed I have to monitor Kai's consumption of carbonated water because of especially during certain seasons of soccer when his allergies are off and like they really affects his respiratory, so I like end up having to have him do straight water instead of carbonated.
yeah. And it's not that carbonated water is bad. I mean, it's actually hydrating as well, but I'm going to say switch it up.
Hmm.
And, if you have to for a while, count how much you're getting in. Um, and you can count the carbonated water, but I'm going to say do some regular water as
I don't
well.
count it. I actually don't count the carbonated water. I never
Okay.
did.
Okay.
I never did. I would count green teas, not black teas, and I would create like I would count and I count regular water, but I surprisingly don't count carbonated in my water count.
Mhm. Okay. But ideally half your body weight in ounces.
Hmm.
And I know you've heard that 1,000 times. So
I've told people that 1,000
exactly, right? But that doesn't mean that our listeners have heard it. So,
No,
um,
not at all.
your protein, I know that you've switched up your diet a little bit more. You're not getting as much protein as you were, but it's still in optimal range, just so you know that.
Sweet.
Albumin looks good. Globulin last time. So globulin is, so if you think of immunoglobulins, globulin is what your body creates in response to allergies or sensitivities, that
Oh,
sort of thing. So immunoglobulins, right now yours is right where it needs to be. Before it was actually on the elevated side, and we'll talk about that a little more when we get to your CBC. So the ratio there looks great. Your calcium's running a little bit on the low side, and we're going to talk about why that is here in just a second. That ratio looks fantastic too. Magnesium is still on the low side. So magnesium is one of those things that's going to be important for you to help manage stress, to help manage sleep. It does so many different functions. So that's one that we put on your supplement list to be like, hey, where can we get magnesium in, whether it's from additional foods or actually supplementing with it. The forms that I like the most are going to be magnesium glycinate, which works the best at absorption and getting into that cellular structure all the way down to your mitochondria, where magnesium malate is the one that is best for muscle support and muscle recovery. Magnesium threonate is the one that crosses the blood-brain barrier, helps calm the mind, helps with memory, helps with sleep. I really like the combination of those three together.
okay.
Okay. And I can point out which products have that. So alkaline phosphatase, this is the one for you that before was like crazy, crazy low. And while it's come up, it's still low. This is where I pull in for you the genetic piece. So what alkaline phosphatase is and why that they usually look for it, it's a liver enzyme, just like these next two, which is ALT and AST. But the alkaline phosphatase is heavily dependent on zinc. And when it's low like this, it tells me you're probably a little zinc deficient. If you are one of those people that you can see your fingernails, if you have little white spots on your fingernails, I don't know if I can get this close enough for you to see mine. Is it
Hmm.
blurry?
No, actually, I can see.
And there's a
That's not.
little white dot kind of
Yeah,
right in there. That's
yeah.
an indication of zinc deficiency. That's way that you can look at your nails and be like, I could probably use some zinc. While
Right,
there
but
are
one of my vices is that I actually do get my nails done, even though these are my real nails, but I still get the coating, so you can't see shit.
you can't see them. Yeah, you
You
can't
can't.
see them on.
I can't
Okay.
see them. Yeah.
You might be able to see them on your toes if you haven't done your toes in a while, but that is a key indicator of zinc deficiency. And when we look at your genetic profile, one of the things that showed up in your genetics is that you actually have one of the SNPs that actually increases your usage of zinc, which means that you're going to use it up faster than most people.
Why
So
is that?
I can send you the whole readout on what it's doing, but basically just one of your pathways when it comes to metabolizing things through your liver, it uses up zinc. And instead of
Mm.
recycling it or slowing down the process, you just use it up more quickly than others.
So I just need more generated zinc fuel.
I was going to say you need some more zinc fuel, and zinc and copper are related in the aspect that all of those processes that use up zinc, they also use up copper here and there. So if you are supplementing with zinc constantly, you probably need just a little bit of copper too, not nearly as much as you do zinc, but a little extra copper just to help support and
Mm.
that utilization of zinc.
Interesting.
Okay.
It makes me
Um,
feel like diesel
yeah,
versus regular.
yeah, exactly. You need diesel versus regular. There's no, I don't know. It's like being a country girl, like growing up. There's nothing to me that sounds like a good diesel engine. It's like I just love the yeah. So anyway, all right. So moving on, you need some minerals. We could even do a mineral formula for you that's got magnesium, zinc, and copper, or we can do them separately, just so that you have that in your mind. And that part is genetic for you. So your liver enzymes look good. I know this ALT says it's on the low side. It's just not in optimal range. It's still good. Your liver's working fine. We can look at some additional for support for the liver if we need to long term, but I don't really
But
see any
honestly,
evidence.
I feel
But
like once the supplementation and other things flip, it'll just boost right back into normal ranges regardless.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So LDH is often used as a cardiovascular marker for looking at lipids and that sort of stuff, but I look at it as a blood sugar marker. Before yours was on the low side, which said to me that you were having hypoglycemia type things, or that you would
Mhm.
get hangry easy, which that is balanced out back out. Could be because you're letting the
I have
potatoes
more
work in.
I have more hypoglycemic tendencies than I do have hangriness.
Okay.
Just to be clear, the
Yeah.
hangry is my husband, the hypoglycemic, like, "Holy crap, I'm on my ass. Hold on, I need to eat this apple and peanut butter. Give me a second."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to
And
say,
that
I don't.
happened a lot during my energetic upgrades. That was happening majorly during when I was going through, like, one portal shift after the next in the last 2 years. Oh my god, I was wiped out even when I was eating, like, carbohydrates. Like, it just energetically, I was shifting and was just tanked.
Yeah, I don't see as much indication of it now as it was.
Sweet.
So.
Yay.
Yay. All right. So bilirubin and GGT are also liver related. GGT stands for like glands wait gland glutamyl something or the other transferase. I don't even know. GGT. And what I look at GGT for is if it's super elevated, yes, that's an issue probably with the liver. It could be like fatty liver or early stages cirrhosis, liver damage kind of stuff. But if it's on the lower end, it's actually super healthy. But that particular enzyme is opposite proportional to glutathione. And glutathione is one of those primary antioxidants that
Mhm.
helps us clear up, clean up, and keep us super healthy. So the lower your numbers are here, we don't want them to be crazy low, but in that like 10 to 30 range instead of up to towards 70 and above, that 10 to 30 range is really, it really indicates that your body either isn't needing the antioxidants or it's doing a really good job of production of glutathione as it is. So you're actually in a really good space here.
That's
For people,
awesome because,
yeah,
like, I used to, like, have to supplement for that a lot in after the kids were born.
yeah,
And, like, I actually haven't done any of that in a while.
yeah,
And that would be normally a go-to, like, supplement for me to be like, "Oh, let's make sure we're okay." As secure like, that was one of my security supplements, and to be like, "Oh, no, you're naturally doing that." That's, like, a big freaking deal, especially over the food sensitivities and having to get myself back to where I needed to be. So, holy shit.
yeah. Fantastic.
Good job.
Good job. That's
Good
right. Good
job,
job. Good job.
body. Good
Good
job.
job, buddy. All right. So last time your iron was running high, but your ferritin was right where it needed to be. Ferritin is stored iron. So what I see is that your iron has dropped down. It's in optimal levels now, but your body has shoved it into ferritin and stored it. Now, yeah, so it's holding on to it for a rainy day just in case. But also thinking back to your genetics, you did have the uh, genetic variant that you actually do hold on to iron and not get rid of it as easily as some other people, which can add to iron overload over time. So we just
Which
want to make
Rudy
sure
had years ago, and that was contributing to a lot of his, um,
inflammation.
yeah, a lot of his inflammation, which then was when he was having the most gout flares. He was
Yeah.
having gout flares like every quarter then, and it was insane.
So what I will say is that as inflammation goes up for your body to protect itself, it will take that iron and shove it into ferritin to make sure that it's not getting oxidized and basically resting in your bloodstream. Not that we really get rust in our bloodstream, but oxidized iron is rust, right? So, so when inflammation increases, which we're going to talk about that here in just a second, because your inflammation has gone up a little bit, it's still really healthy, but when your
Did you
inflammation
just
goes
say that I
up,
have rusty pipes?
yep, you got rusty pipes, babe.
Did it? Okay, I did get a flashback. Like, didn't in like medieval times when you had rusty pipes, wouldn't they like poke you and just let you bleed out to like regulate, or they would get leeches to like
Mhm.
suck out and like regulate it? Isn't that
Well,
is that what
I
we're doing?
I was going to say that's that is one of the treatments that they had for a lot of things is that they would absolutely bleed you or whatever. I don't find the need to bleed you. I'm just going to say make sure that your multivitamin doesn't have iron in it, and
Okay.
notice the foods that are high in iron because you probably don't need excess iron.
Okay, so number one, I guess it's good that like I'm following more of my pescatarian diet and taking a break off of my red meats addiction.
Yep.
Number two, I will make sure to stop cooking so much out of the iron skillet because Rudy's
Yes.
obsessed with the iron skillet that we have, and he's like, "I'm allowed to because I have low iron," and I'm like, "Okay, but maybe not after this test." And then number three, you make sure that my multivitamin doesn't have freaking iron. I don't know that you do it.
Yeah. The one I will recommend will not have it. How's that?
Okay.
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 All right. So, that being said, we're scrolling down. Let's talk about cholesterol. I want you people out there to notice. Look at this optimal range here. Optimal cholesterol is between 180 and 239. Okay. Most medical doctors are looking at their ranges that says, oh my gosh, if you go over 199, you need a statin. That is not true. Okay.
Oh my god, I can't. That's like the number one debunking bullshit that irritates the crap out of me in Western
It makes me
medicine.
crazy,
Yeah.
but here's the thing, you have to look at the ratios. You can't just say across the board, no statins. It's like you
Hmm.
have to look at the ratios. So what I look for is whatever the cholesterol number is, if you have it, that should be about where your triglycerides are. Because your triglycerides are how your body is basically converting sugars and carbohydrates into fatty particles to hold on to. So we want that number to be about half of what the overall cholesterol is. And yours is
So
pretty
what?
darn close to that. So half of yours would be uh 94 and a half.
Yeah, I'm at 93 bitches.
Yeah, exactly. Fantastic. So LDL, you're in the range for LDL, but I'm going to talk about LDL anyway. So LDL gets called bad cholesterol.
Which I
It's not
hate because it's not true. It's
it's
like good
not
with an
true. It's
evil
not
twin.
bad. Yeah. So I think of LDL as kind of like liquid Band-Aid. Okay. So it is a little bit stickier, it is a little bit fluffier, and that's why it gets called bad. But when it comes out is when inflammation is up. And so if you think of your blood vessels like a highway and your highway has potholes in it, you want something to come out and fill the potholes. And that's what LDL does. So it's like it's kind of like the liquid Band-Aid for your vessels, but we want that inflammation to stay down so that you're not having to have, not having to call out more of that quote unquote liquid mandate.
Right.
Yours looks fantastic. So HDL gets called good cholesterol. It's not necessarily good versus the other, but you can think of this like city buses. It's going to deliver more lipid particles out to rebuild things in one container than, a whole bunch of other vehicles that are smaller that don't carry as many lipids. Okay.
Why did
Um,
these shitheads put it in a down thumb? Because I like those HDLs.
yeah, this is
I
perfect.
love those
Higher,
HDLs. Those are
I was
really
going to say,
good.
higher HDL is actually protective
Yeah.
in most cases. Now, if your overall numbers were different and that HDL was like up in the 100 and something range, which I have seen before,
Ooh.
pushing your cholesterol up into almost the 300 range, that's when I would be like, okay, we need to look at a particle size profile, which I don't do a lot of that, but I do that with people that, like I said, their numbers are consistently super high and that HDL number is up closer to 100 or 100
Yeah.
plus, because then we need to be like, okay, so, is this a size thing? Your body's choosing it as a preference, or is there something else going on that we need to be concerned about?
I've rarely ever seen an HDL. I think the highest one I've ever seen was like 114, and I was like in shock because like normally it's like you can't get people above 30 or 40,
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, so yay.
Yeah. So the ratios that I look at are going to be your overall cholesterol to HDL. And
Hmm.
what that tells us is kind of like that preference of, are we creating healthy particles that are going to deliver a lot of lipids out to build more cells, or in city buses versus the smaller vehicles, which are the LDL and the VLDL. So it's like
Right.
we want that ratio to be 3 or less. That's optimal, but really up to 5 is not a huge health concern. Okay. Those are the ones that's the ratio that we look at for overall cardiovascular risk. Now, triglycerides to HDL, yours are fantastic. Yours are always fantastic. But triglycerides to HDL is the one that we look at to see, hey, is there an issue here that could actually kind of push us into type 2 diabetes? Because remember, those triglycerides are how we process and package carbohydrates. All right. So that's cholesterol. I could go into a whole spiel of more about cholesterol, but yours looks fantastic. So we're not going to.
We'll wait for
Just,
Rudy's blood work. We might surrender his to the next podcast. Hey, honey, you're going to join us.
yeah, you know what? I'm going to let him decide on that. And I'm not going to comment on it today. But yeah, we have his back and we can look at those sometime in the next few days too. All right, so thyroid. Your thyroid looks great too, but I am gonna do my quick little analogy. So TSH is what most doctors run. TSH is not produced by the thyroid, it's actually produced by the brain. And it's kind of like mom coming down and going, hey, let's go to work. Hey, let's go to school. Come on, get busy. That's what TSH is. It's the brain's way of waking up the thyroid to say, hey, I need you to work. Okay. So as that number increases, it's like the more hypervigilant mom is being of like, oh my gosh, you got to go to work. Oh my gosh, you got to get up. Oh my gosh, come on, come on, come on, come on. So the higher that TSH is, the harder the brain is having to work to get the thyroid to do what it's supposed to do. It has nothing to do with the thyroid function itself. I mean, it can if your thyroid is sluggish, but it's the other numbers that actually tell you what your thyroid's doing. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. So free T4 and total T4, which I don't think we ran both of them on you, but T4 is primarily what your body or what your thyroid produces. T4 is 4 iodine molecules that are wound together with some amino acids. 80% of what your thyroid produces is T4, and then it sends it out into the body, and your cells, your tissues, your liver, wherever your body needs to utilize T4, it's then transferred into T3 by cleaving off one of those iodine molecules, making it ready to sit into the receptor. So when we're looking at, if your T3 was low but your T4 was normal, we'd be saying, okay, that's a conversion issue. That doesn't have to do anything with the thyroid itself. Now, I see a lot of people get medicated and put on thyroid medication and not feel any better because it's not that they don't have enough T4, it's that they're not breaking down that T4 into T3 properly. And that doesn't
Right,
have
the
anything to
machine's
do with,
broken and yeah, the machine's broken or
yeah, it's
needing a new part or whatever.
right. I was going to say sometimes it's just a matter of selenium, which you can get from Brazil nuts, but you don't want to eat too much, right? So
I love Brazil nuts.
I know. I love
God,
those too.
they're so good.
Yeah. So
Okay.
anyway, that's thyroid. HSCRP. So I run the high sensitivity CRP. A lot of doctors will only run CRP. The difference is HS means high sensitivity. It's usually used as a cardiovascular marker for inflammation, but I use it as a general overall inflammatory marker to find out what's going on with inflammation. Yours is still really good. It's just literally zero point zero 0.01 over optimal. It is slightly higher than what it was before, which makes sense with some of the other stuff that's been going on with you. All right, so we are getting towards the end. ESR is also an inflammation marker. That's why those two are together. It looks fantastic. Again, I'm going to say your inflammation is actually really manageable. And I think it would be even better if your vitamin D was slightly higher.
Which I had learned in a very long time ago as a quick detour story. So I used to make sure that Rudy and I would get our blood work done a week before we went to the doctor so that the doctor had our actual information. By the way, I believe her name was Dr. Sandra Yu. Yes, I'm still looking for you, bitch, because I loved you. So she used to be our doctor in Chicago, and it was amazing because I could get Rudy to do his blood work, and then basically he'd schedule his appointment, and then he'd go in, and I would see her a week before and then like tattle on him, and basically like he'd go in and, and have to be like, hello, you have to pay attention to your body, fool. Like your wife wants you alive. Like, so it would be like this really great combination. But it was interesting because I had done one blood work before going out of town, and I got a call saying that there was an abnormality in my blood work, which I had really great blood work back then. I mean, I was just like 30, so I was like, I was still in my prime. I was still doing really great, and then they would not tell me what the freaking problem was because they're like, oh no, we can't tell you. You have to see your doctor for that. And I'm like, what the fuck? But thankfully, that's when they started taking blood work and putting them on portals for the first time. Ha ha ha. I knew how to read blood work. That's right, motherfucker. Don't freak me out. But they almost made me feel like I had cancer. My white blood cells were up, like the total fear mongering panic. Not like, oh, it's just a slight thing. It'll be fine. Like there was no comfort, nothing. And all that it was that my vitamin D levels were elevated, and it was 2 points above the optimal or like their suggested range, which actually was when I was in the very prime of my like health. Like my daughter had been born, I had gotten my muscle mass back. I was like 116 pounds. I was a freaking machine. And I pretty much guarantee that it was my higher vitamin D levels that gave me the energy to get through the move, get through all the things with my family and the kids, everything. But it really irritated me that they let me sit in panic and fear and thinking I was dying while I went on out of town. And thankfully I was able to read my blood work beforehand, and I could just be yeah.
Yeah.
Short
So
story.
yeah, I was going to say, so here's what I'm going to say. Because they are trained that too much vitamin D is toxic,
Right.
right? And
Calcification of the bones
well,
and
and
other things.
we're going to come back around on that in just a second. They're trained that too much vitamin D is toxic. And they're so programmed to look at their labs like those ranges that they have are, well, you're either sick one way or you're sick the other way if it's outside of the range that they have.
Right.
Now, that's not what the research says. What the research says is that optimal, is kind of variable, but it definitely needs to be over 50. The anti-inflammatory actions of vitamin D really happen the most between 80 and 120. But their top range is 100. So if you're between 100 and 120 when it comes to vitamin D, they're going to freak out that you're in, toxic mode. But No one has ever actually come in and had toxicity to vitamin D between 100 and 120. The only related cases that are out there in the research of vitamin D toxicity, the levels were over 300,
Wow. That's
right?
insane.
And so when you look at the ranges that they're working from, they're really working from, what is the average that's out there? What do we see the most of? What falls within the bell curve? That sort of thing. And so that 30 to 100 is within the bell curve, which your 34.9 is within the bell curve. So they
Right.
would consider you normal. But most people at 35 are going to feel foggy, fluffy, fatigued. They're not going to be
Which,
doing all the functions. They may not be making hormones the way that they would like to,
oh, this
right?
would be a perfect time to bring your book in.
Yep, my book.
Oh, I got it.
Wait. My book. Foggy, fluffy, and fatigued. There you go. You saw it from both angles. All right. So let's finish this out. So a CBC, pretty much every doctor has run a CBC on you at some point. Go pull up your CBC on your portal while we're talking about this. It's going to look at your total white blood count. And we're going to talk about those last because that's the neutrophils, lymphocytes, monocytes, eosinophils, and basophils. That's your white blood cells. And then it's going to look at your red blood cells. So your red blood cell count overall, RBC female there, when it's high like that, I'm going to say you're still just a little bit dehydrated. It doesn't matter if you're drinking tons of water, there's something where your body is not pushing that water into your cells. So your bloodstream it could use a little extra water or something, a little extra hydration. So hydration may be in the form of electrolytes, it may be in the form of absorption, it may be in the form of supporting your gut so that there's less inflammation. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. Hemoglobin looks great. Hemoglobin is the molecules that carry iron throughout your bloodstream. Yours is great. Hematocrit's fine. So MCV, MCH, MCHC, and RDW are all the sizes of your red blood cells. That's how much it can carry, how big it is, how wide it is, what's the volume. And most of those are impacted by either iron or B vitamins. So if they're tiny, they need to pump some iron. So if these numbers are running low on your CBC, it's because you're iron deficient. Even if they didn't run iron, if all of those numbers or a number of those numbers are running on the low side, it's because you're iron deficient. If they're on the high side, like your Abby's MCV is just a little bit on the high side. It's not even out of regular ranges. It's just a little bit out of optimal range. To me, that talks about methylation of B vitamins. So if it's big or if it's running on the high side, it's big. That has to do with B vitamins. That's how you make the correlation. Tiny needs to pump iron. Big means B. Okay. And different ones will correlate with different B vitamins, but we know from her genetics that she doesn't methylate and deal with B vitamins as well as some other people. And this is how it'll show up. It'll show up as MCV being a little bit out of range. So you don't need a ton of B active or B complex or whatever it is, but you do need some activated vitamins here and there, B vitamins. And this is how it and where it'll show up. Now,
I just got the playback song for like my lumps, like my lumps, my lumps, my lumps. Like, like it's like you, do you remember that song? I'll have to find it. Okay, never mind. It'll be a theme song for the next show.
yeah, I'm trying to run through this really fast because I don't want to take up so much time, and we're already over an hour. So, um, these last five are your white blood cells, and when you look at these are the ones that'll tell you, hey, are you fighting something in your gut that has to do with bacteria? Are you headed towards autoimmune? Are you dealing with parasites or food allergies or what the heck is going on? So each of these kind of has its own correlation of what it does. So these last five numbers here are percentages. These aren't the actual numbers. The actual numbers will be on your regular lab work, but we're really just looking at the percentages. So those neutrophils, you really want them to be at 60%. If they're below that, it's because the percentage of that is going somewhere else, right? If it's above 60, that's when we're looking at, okay, where in your body is a bacterial infection?
Mm.
And so it's like people that are at 61, okay, fine. Maybe there's a little something going on, but 62, 63 plus, it's like that's when I'm looking at, okay, you've got some bacterial imbalance somewhere. And if you don't know, hey, I have a tooth abscess, hey, I have an abscess somewhere, chances are you've got some bacterial overgrowth in your gut that's creating inflammation. And that's why your white blood cells are focusing on bacterial infection. That's how you tell, hey, I need to balance my gut health.
Hmm.
So neutrophils over 60. Okay. Lymphocytes have to do with your body focusing on fighting viral something or other that may be hanging out in the background. This could be anything from, you know, being exposed to chickenpox when you were a kid to, hey, I was out with a whole bunch of people and I am fighting a tiny bit of viral something or other. Those are the ones that we watch that if it's consistently high and it stays creeping up there in that 40, 42, 43, 44, 45 range,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to pull down because, like I said, these are percentages, right? So it's going to pull down that neutrophil count to about 45 as well. When those get to like 45, 45, that's when I'm looking at autoimmune because of some viral load that's hanging out in the background. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense.
Okay. So your lymphocytes are 33. Ideally, they would be at 30, but 3 over, I'm not gonna pick on you about that. So monocytes, I think of like the trash collectors. They're the ones that come in when there's been destruction from something and they're trying to take out the trash. So somewhere in your bloodstream, something's creating a little bit of inflammatory something for your body to clean up. It could be if you haven't worked out in a long time and you've done a lot of workout that you've got some stuff in the bloodstream to clean up. Or if you're releasing stuff, or if your inflammation is up, those monocytes might creep up there just a little bit. Again, viral load will access some of that as well. So super happy with your eosinophils. Eosinophils are the ones that will be over 3 when you have gut inflammation because of either food allergies, sensitivities, or parasites. And
Wow. I'm shocked that that's even like in a good zone.
yeah, but we did that whole like 4-month parasite cleanse with you.
We did do that right
Yeah.
after this test, right? Or like somewhere,
No,
I don't know.
it was probably between the two. Um, I mean, I don't think it was right after the first
It's
one that we
maybe a
did.
year ago, right? I think it
Yeah,
was
I was
maybe
gonna
a
say it was
year
a little
ago.
over a year ago that we did that parasite protocol with you. So I don't see any food allergies, parasites like really impacting you right now. I would
Fantastic.
say it's some sort of viral in the background sort of thing.
Man, I really could use some potatoes, but okay.
Yeah. So that being said, here's what's interesting. With a genetic profile where, yeah, your B vitamins are impacting things a tiny bit, but for the most part, that looks fantastic. You don't need a ton there. We know the zinc piece, and we talked about the zinc quite a bit. The zinc also helps us with our immune system. And so your body fighting that little tiny bit of viral whatever, getting your zinc levels up to where it normalizes your alkaline phosphatase could actually take care of whatever this little tiny viral something in the background is.
Right. That
It
makes
could be as
sense.
simple as it could be as simple as that. And there's other types, kind of like we talked about. There's different types of magnesium. There's different types of zinc as well. Zinc carnitine, zinc carnosine. It stays in the gut and actually helps with inflammation in the gut. And because of your gut history, that may be the one we start you on, and then we rotate you into zinc glycinate, which is a chelated form that.
Glycinate is what you had me take before, and I think I stopped taking it like maybe 6 months ago. I mean, I haven't been as consistent with my supplementation for the last like year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, your labs look fantastic. You really don't need that much, but there's some foundational pieces that we can put back in for you.
Yeah. And which is
So,
needed because I clearly, yeah, just been off.
yeah. Well, and two, like I said, I mean, for you, vitamin D makes a huge difference. Even that alone would probably. Let's stop sharing so that we don't.
Ah! Ah!
So, yeah. So that's what it's like to hear from me about labs. I know
Yeah,
it's a
and
lot.
that's the funny part is that was like the easy version.
Mhm.
Because most people's labs are a like shit show, like
Mhm.
so to speak. And
Yeah.
yeah, I
Well,
mean it can be intense.
and I remind people all the time, just because you run labs and your doctor's like, "Oh, your labs are fine," doesn't mean you feel fine. Most people know. They're like, "I went in because I needed some answers because I don't feel fine." But my
Well, I
doctor
mean,
said I'm fine.
I have not like been able to like have a regular function in like it feels like it's almost been a year. Like I've been it's almost felt like constant IBS for a year. And it was like that isn't okay because I was always regular before that.
Mhm.
And and it's like my husband was the one that always struggled with IBS, but I didn't connect the dots to his PTSD. Like didn't even freaking occur to me until like all of a sudden when I finally verbally mentioned to him that I was having that for a while. And then I was like, "Wait, but that's normal for you." And then he's like, "Yes, it is." And then I was like, "Oh, now I get it. Holy crap. I didn't realize like you've been in that constant state for like 30 years." So it's like it is very eye-opening for me, but it also like makes me have a very strong appreciation for the genetics that I've gotten because not everybody has the privilege of having some of the awesome genetics that I like definitely inherited. And it was really interesting for me because when we did my genetic markers a couple years back, I was like, I I remember your face like it was yesterday when you looked at me and was like, I don't remember you saying that you've had any surgeries or like, ligament tears or like it whatever. And looked at you like, what are you talking about? And I was just like, well, yeah, I've had like knee issues and other things here or there. And she's like, yeah, but I don't remember you having like a surgery or having it like you completely tearing something. And you were like, I'm in shock that you haven't yet, being as active as you are. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then you told me that my connective tissue was shit. Like, and
That's
and I
not
was
what I said.
yeah, well, I mean, Abby's interpretations are like a lot more entertaining. So, like, let's just face it. But it was like that realization of that, like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize my connective tissue. But because I knew the field I went into, because when I went through injuries, I rehabilitated myself and applied. And you even said, like, holy crap, because you applied what you knew, you practically saved yourself from like all these surgeries that you could have absolutely had. And the interesting thing is, as soon as you told me that, I started looking at my aunts, uncles, and started reflecting over my grandfather, and he was getting surgeries left and right all the freaking time. And then having to go through rehabilitation and stretching and all of it. And actually watching him go through that made me be aware of self-care and what it took. And so like then I started like he had his quack, what they always called his quack doctor that would create supplementation for his particular needs. Like, and so he would always have his vitamins and he'd count them every day. So I understood and got some of that foundation early on. And I think that's why I haven't had to have that kind of issue. But it was interesting because like even the connective tissue, it made sense. So why my hair grows so slow. I mean, nails are like in bad shape. But even the part that was the most astonishing to me was actually realizing that my body functions better on a pescatarian diet. And when I go full pescatarian, I mean, one, it is freaking hard to go a consistent 3 to 6 weeks of constant pescatarian without any alternative proteins. That is freaking really hard to do. But at the same time, I noticed just within 3 weeks of straight pescatarian diet, my body feels amazing. Like my energies levels are up, my inflammation, I don't have this, my knees aren't making creaks up the stairs. It's almost like it's like I oiled my joints, or I became like a brief teenager and was 17 again and like got to go and to do that. So I'm really trying to make sure that I'm more mindful about sticking with my pescatarian diet with okay, maybe a protein cheat a week, if not maybe every 2 or 3 weeks, just to keep myself on track with it. What my hard part is, like my vices, like Prosecco or, potatoes in particular, because potatoes are my thing. I like love all forms of potatoes. Like, it doesn't matter how they are. I just want them. And so I've noticed that, okay, when I have that, okay, it could regulate myself digestively, but then at the same time, my body has an inflammatory response if I have more than a certain amount of exposures. And I seem to have no fucking control on, like, hey, I had a dose of potatoes. Oh, then it got followed by a 3-4 day affair. And like, it's almost like I had to sneak out of the country, act like I was in Vegas and didn't, what stays in Vegas. Like, except when I come back, I'm like a bloatfish. And then I'm like, son of a bitch. Like, so I really have to figure out that dynamic of either cutting it out altogether and not cheating, which is not ideal because I love them so much. Or figuring out a way to like be able to have a complementary blend. And I am a person, which we could go into my human design and even to my gene keys, and I'm sure you'd be like, yeah, I do have a tendency when it comes to my self-care that I'm like either all or nothing. There's not an in between.
Yeah.
And that in itself, it's like, okay, well, I can't go 3 years on hiatus and then go 3 years hardcore and then 3 years. That yo-yo is not good for my heart health and it's not good for my organs. And so I have to find a better whatever that is. So
Yeah.
anyway.
So the reason I'm smiling so big is like, you are the perfect example of why I like to start with genetics, because there are some key things that just explain why you have the issues that you have. Like even from the hair falling out and the fragile and some of the joint stuff, that has to do with zinc, which
Yeah.
shows up in your labs, right? And that
Right.
is actually one of your genetic things. And we just supplement to help support what your body naturally does genetically and what it doesn't, right?
Yeah.
That's why I love to start with that. But then at
And
the
I
same
really
time,
love that. That was easy. It was an easy test. It was an easy test that was like, I mean, and it was affordable and it was like
yeah,
nothing. It was not a big deal. Meeks.
yeah. And that being said, it's kind of like your genetics aren't going to change. You swab your cheek once, you get it sent off, you get a really good report. There's a couple of different companies that I like to use. Reach out if you're curious. That being said, is like when you do your lab work to help align with that, you can kind of watch over time to see how you're doing as a reflection. But then on
Yeah.
top of that, we add those, how does my energy work with human design? And spiritually, how well am I doing by looking at your gene keys? So we go from genetics to gene keys and every like spectrum in the middle. And the reason that I do that is because we are not just a body. We are definitely not just a body that needs, something fixed or changed. We just need more understanding. And when you get that understanding of your body and you can see where your body is responding to not only what you're doing as far as food and diet, but then
Right.
also how are you responding to stress? How are
Yeah.
you responding to the energetic world around you? And when it comes to getting yourself in alignment with that higher spiritual perspective of looking at your gene keys to be like, what the heck did I come here for? Why am I doing this? You know, it creates a whole spectrum of what it is to be human and how to really heal from all aspects of life.
I love it. Okay. Order my supplements, bitch. Love you.
Bye.
Bye. Go embrace that experience.